It's April 2nd, and we're going to talk about fantasy football. It's great. It's great. Welcome to Talk Man Radio Show, live, not taped. We come every Friday at 6 o'clock, live. Welcome to the show. I've got some stuff we're going to talk about tonight. We've heard about Tyler Lockett getting a new contract. I want to go over it. I got a little thing with Tyler Lockett, all right? We're going to talk about that. We got some things I want to straighten out with that guy. Got a nice little contract there. But how is that relevant to fantasy football? We're going to talk about that. That's all we talk about here. Freaking April, we're talking about fantasy football. That's how we roll. But first, 12-ounce sports. Yo, that's where we're at. In case you didn't know, in case you're just strolling the dial, if you're that young, you don't even get that reference. Yeah, there's a dial. 12-ounce sports, 12ouncesportsradio.com. That's where you got to go. You can follow 12-ounce sports on social media, on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Subscribe, friend, however you get in there, you get in there with 12-ounce sports. We got all the good guys over here. Like I said, don't watch just ESPN. They're all done. They're all, they say one thing and that's right. It's nonsense. At least you get people with different opinions here on the alternate dial, I guess if you want to call it that. The new media, the small media. Those big guys, they all suck. There's a couple guys in there, but they're all right. But guys like 12-ounce sports, who we come at you every day. We got our lineup set. We got good guys here, and they all know their stuff. And we all talk about different things. Like I talk about fantasy football. I say this every week. But check us out. Like, friend, subscribe. Today's going to be the day. You're going to subscribe, like, and friend. Don't forget, Talk Man Radio every Friday, 6 o'clock. You can catch me right here. Talking fantasy football, no matter what month of the year it is. We're talking fantasy football. And you can find me here every Friday night, 6 o'clock on 12-ounce sports, the stream. Or you can always subscribe to Talk Man Radio on YouTube. Every weekend, usually, I've been a little busy the last couple weeks, but usually over the weekend, clip up the show a little bit, put the best bits out there for you to digest if you want. Tonight we got some things going on. We're talking about Tyler Lockett. We got the big contract going on. We're going to talk about that a little bit. We're also going to get into, since it's draft season, the draft is at the end of the month, I believe, the NFL draft, which after that we'll have a better understanding of our fantasy football drafts going forward, especially where the offensive players go. You're going to see a lot of offensive players go that are going to get drafted most likely in the first round, second round, even some of the later rounds once the training camp starts. You start seeing how these guys are fitting in with their new teams. That's going to build up some of the rookies, build up their stock, their draft stock, their ADP. We talk about ADP a little bit, but that's what we're gonna do, and we're gonna talk about draft strategies tonight. We're gonna end I don't know if we're gonna end it, but I'm also gonna go over top 10 running backs going into next year. I was looking at some of the guys. I was like, let's do top 10. Let's do a top 10 running back for next year, especially since some things have moved around, so we are going to have to revamp the top 10. We'll talk about that. And I think the way I timed it out, there might be a couple minutes left. We're going to talk about some NFL news that I was looking up a little earlier. But talk about 12-ounce sports. I keep talking about these guys. They're so great. They're awesome. They really are good guys. They know, we got guys that know what they're talking about. All right, but let's get into the show. First we do that, we got the PSA. PSA! I wish I had a little song. PSA, the more you know. Remember those old things? You don't remember. You're either 12 or you're 80. Just want to take a moment to tell you about 12-ounce sports. Now that the action's officially back on, 12-ounce sports is your home for the best live talk shows like this one, covering all aspects of the sporting world, like fantasy football and live game broadcasts. With Zingo TV adding 12-ounce sports to their long list of channels, you can now catch my show and all the other shows on Zingo TV channel 761. I'll tell you every week. You're going to sign up this week. I know it. All you got to do is download Zingo TV and use the promo code 12ounce. That's 120Z. When signing up, it's that simple. Be sure to check out our latest blogs and podcasts as well on 12ouncesportsradio.com. That's how we roll. Yo, cuz. Yo, what up, yo? So, yes. Check out, and also check out 12-ounce sport. When you go to 12ouncesportsradio.com, check out the gear, and there's a little donate button at the bottom. If you're still working, if things are going okay for you, you can go throw $1 or $2. It doesn't have to be $800. If you like the content we put out, and we do that for you guys. So, on to Tyler Lockett. That is the opening play for tonight, Tyler Lockett. So I brought up, this is an article. I was going to tell you a little bit about the contract, but I want to get a little deeper into that, into the fantasy aspect of this. So Tyler Lockett reportedly agrees to 4-year contract extension with the Seahawks. Russell Wilson reacts. Wide receiver will stay put in Seattle for a long time to come. Hold on a minute with that one. Just because he signed a contract don't mean shit. The Sean Watson signed a contract last year. He can't wait to get the hell out of there. So, he's not that old, but we'll go into the article a little bit, and then I'm going to tell you what I think. If you expect the Seattle Seahawks to have a pressing need at wide receiver entering the 2021 draft, nobody expected that. I don't know why they're saying that. Think again. Okay, I will. With a limited number of picks this year, it remained paramount they retained what stellar talent they could, and that includes currently disgruntled quarterback Russell Wilson. The best way to appease Wilson is not only to give him protection up front, but also keep his weapons intact, and few have arguably been more dynamic for him than wide receiver Tyler Lockett. Yeah, he makes a good point. Him, DK Metcalf. I think DK Metcalf was definitely more consistent than Tyler Lockett, and I'll get into that. I had them both last year, and if I had to do it again, I would have taken DK Metcalf, hands down. I mean, despite the fact DK Metcalf finished wide receiver 5 or 6, something like that, and I think Tyler Lockett finished wide receiver 10, if I'm not wrong. But you can look that up if you want. If that's what you feel like doing. When you're done looking at porn, you can look that up. If you're done looking at porn in 12-ounce sports, you can look that up. So the Seahawks signed or reportedly agreed to terms with Lockett on a 4-year, $69.2 million contract extension. That includes $37 million guaranteed. Well, that's So, and Russell Wilson, the homie Tyler Lockett, let's go. You deserve it all. Love you, bro. Okay, so he's happy. And then they love that he's getting a lot of mileage out of that one touchdown catch when he was like this close to out of the end zone and in the corner, and like it was just him. That was a great catch. But yeah, there's a lot. Yeah, that's a lot of mileage getting off one catch, buddy. Especially after last year, if you had him, you know what I'm talking about. So a little more into the see if there's they talk about the tandem. He's got DK Metcalf there. And the way it's set up is, I don't want to say it's perfect, but it's very nicely set up. You get the little guy who can make moves and do all that stuff. Then you get the big play guy who just, I think I was looking up how many targets he had. He was like 6th in targets. He had like 127 targets or something like that. DK Metcalf I'm talking about. So, yeah, he did what he had to do with his targets, and it showed. He made big plays. He was the guy last year. Now, Tyler Lockett finished pretty high in the wide receiver rankings, but that's what's the word I'm looking for? Whatever. It's not all that it's cracked up to be in terms of drafting Tyler Lockett, especially drafting Tyler Lockett not number 1, but as a wide receiver 1. So getting a little more. That's pretty much about it in terms of the article. He had another 1,000-yard season. He had 10 touchdowns. That's misconceiving too. In the past 3 years alone, he's racked up 3,000 yards, 28 touchdowns, averaging 12.9 yards per reception. 12.9 yards, okay, that's good. It's not great. Great. Really good wide receivers, especially guys. Yeah, he's a speed guy. He came in as a return guy and then showed that he could play wide receiver and became Russell Wilson's favorite target. Yeah, you can kind of say he's 1A now with DK Metcalf being there. But before that, it says he was a third-round pick in 2015. He was 28 years old. And he came in as a returner, kind of got into the mix. And then as they were shuffling out those wide receivers, who's the guy they had there for a couple of years? He played okay, but nobody really great. He started to emerge, and he ended up being the number one guy up until last year, I guess, where he's kind of 1A, like I said, with DK Metcalf. So, like I said, 12.9 yards, 13 yards per catch is okay, but if you're looking for big play guys, which if you're a returner, that's kind of like your MO. Elite returners go, for the home run. 12.9 yards, that's not. So I'm not that big on Tyler Lockett, despite the fact that he was, he ended up as a good wide receiver for the most part, and I'll tell you why. And if you had him, you know what I'm going to say. If you didn't have him, listen up, because I'm going to get into. I'm going deep, cuz. So Tyler Lockett, I'm going to go through. In week 1, 8 for 92. Oh, that's a good start. In week 2, 7 for 67 and a touchdown. Week 3, 9 for 100. If you're in the league that gives you the bonus, 9 for 100. You get the bonus. You get the 9 for 10. And let's say your bonus is 3. It's 22 and 3 touchdowns. That's 40 points for you? 40 points out of one guy. You win that game. You win that game if you have him. Now we get into, now this happens to everybody. But, boy, after 40 points, 2 for 39. Now I get it, the defense is going to say, hey, this guy just went for 40 points. This guy went 9 for 100 with 3 touchdowns. Let's move some things over and keep this guy in check. 2 for 39. All right, well now DK Metcalf's going crazy. So let's, then we go into next week for 44. 8.4 points, that's not going to do it, especially if he's your number one. And then against the Cardinals, boom, again, 15 for 200. He thought the first one was good, 15 for 200 and 3 touchdowns. Meaning 15, and we do PPR, 15 for 200 is 35. If you get the bonus, and usually only get one bonus, it's 38. And 3 touchdowns is 56. 56 points. So week 3 and week 7, well, we'll get into the crunch of the numbers, but boom, there you go. So you're looking at week 3 and week 7, you're like, oh, this guy's got 6 touchdowns already. He won me 2 out of my first 2 weeks out of those 4 weeks he won. Yeah, we got to keep this train rolling, cuz. And then we get into 4 for 33. Next week, 4 for 40. 5 for 66. And then he comes back a little bit with 9 for 67, a touchdown, which is good. And then you're looking at 3 for 23. And we're only going up to week 13 because we're talking fantasy. 6 for 63. Now, fantasy-wise, and numbers are a little misconceiving because when you look at the numbers prior to going into your draft or you're doing draft prep, you see the whole season's numbers. You don't see what he did, and I know you're nitpicking. You just want a guy who does well. I get it, but you see these numbers, and it's if you take out week 7 and week 3, you're taking out 20 at 2 weeks, 24 catches, 300 yards, and 6 touchdowns. That's a lot of points for 2 weeks. Now, granted, those 2 weeks, boom. If you lost those weeks, your team sucks. But most of the production, a lot of that's 60% of his touchdowns right there. 6 touchdowns, you only had 10. So, okay, you can get big games out of him. He's shown that. He's got a great quarterback with him. You know that. He's got a guy on the other side that you have to play against. You have to respect that guy. Where are these 2 for 39s coming from? 4 for 44 coming from? 4 for 33, 4 for 40, 5 for 66. Let's just look at the games below 10 points. We'll use 10 points as back, double digits. Week 4, week 5, and we're talking 5.9 points, 8.8 points. Week 8, 7.3 points, 4 for 33. Week 9, 4 for 40. Week 10, he got over it. He got over it. 5 for 66, got 11.6 points. Week 12, we got to make that playoff push, and he's helping you out with 3 for 23 for 5.3 points. And then week 13, we got to win to get in. You get 6 for 63, which got you over. So you're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 games under 10 points, and there's some get 5 points, 7 points, 8 points. 5 games under 10 points, and a couple games where, 11.6 points. That's too many games to be not a factor. So the fact that you have these 2 big games in there that boost your rating up to, and he looks like a wide receiver 1. People are going to take him. People are going to take him early because they're just going to look at the stats and say, "Oh, look what this guy did." I'm not saying this guy stinks or anything. That is good. Shit, he won me 2 games last year. But in my opinion, you can't go at this guy as a wide receiver 1. I don't want to say wide receiver 3. You know what I'm going to say? I'm going to say let somebody else draft him. Because somebody else is going to reach for him. I think I got him in the 5th or 6th round. And I could have had other guys, but I went with him. I could have Raheem Mostert, but honestly, I'll take him over Raheem Mostert. Raheem Mostert started out good. Anyway, I don't want to get off topic. But he's way too up and down. For a guy with all those assets, he's a good wide receiver. It's a really good wide receiver. You got a quarterback there. You got another wide receiver on the other side that you have to respect. You've got a running back. That's, you get another. You got to respect him. Chris Carson, he's okay. But, you've got a whole offense around you. There's no reason you should have this many games under 10 points. My actual barrier is 15. I like guys to average 15 points. But, and that his average is probably around there, maybe a little over. But that's way, there's way more to the story than that. So I'm not I respect him. If you want to take him in your league, I get it. I wouldn't mind playing against him as long as he doesn't have those big games. And this is kind of like a thing he does. This is why he falls. People are aware of this. Once you draft him, you're aware of it. You kind of see him in there, and then if you're not paying attention, if you haven't played with him before, you kind of see him and like, ooh, you got Russell Wilson throwing to him. This is the year that he blows up, and I just don't see it happening. I didn't look this up. That was just last year's, but let's go and take a look at. He had 100 catches last year, but again, 1,054 yards. What? And that's been going down. He's played 16 games, except for 2016. He's played all 16 games. I like that. I don't like guys who get hurt. That's a big no-no. But the fact that all this he's becoming more of a. I don't want to call him a possession guy because he's not a possession guy. He's a big play guy. I mean that 15 for 200, 3 touchdowns isn't possession guy. 9 for 100 to 3 isn't a possession guy. You don't see a lot of possession guys putting up those numbers, despite the fact that it only happened twice. The thing is, he's becoming more of one of those guys who catches balls at the line of scrimmage, catches balls a couple yards out. He's not going deep. He doesn't go deep very often. That's kind of DK Metcalf's thing. So you've got 100 catches for 1,000 yards at 1,054 yards for 10.5 yards average. You got 10 touchdowns where 6 of them came in 2 games. So that means in the other 15 games he put up 4 touchdowns. You gotta weigh what you're looking to get out of him. If you take him number 1, if you're in a league and a guy takes him number 1, you watch his show. You can have a good belly laugh on me because I don't see him as he's definitely not a number 1, and he puts up way too many subpar performances to be a number 2. I guess you could take him as a number 2. I'm not saying he can't grab an extra 20 catches here and there, finish the season with 110, 15, maybe catches, break 1 or 2, and boost those numbers. But I'm just not sold on him. I'm not sold on him as number 1, and I'm kind of not sold on him as number 2. He's a third guy that you look to make a move on after he has his big game. That's the way I see him. Now he helps Russell Wilson out. This signing helps Russell Wilson out because he's got it's basically the same offense. So I don't know if Russell Wilson's going to have the start he had last year, but it's basically the same offense we're looking at with the same characters in there doing the same things all over again. As long as no injuries happen, and he doesn't seem like a guy who gets injured that much. He's you're looking at a wide receiver 3, despite the fact that he ended up number 10. So that's the way I see the Tyler Lockett contract in terms of fantasy, bringing him back. And I don't think he's going to stay there I don't think he's staying there for the next 4 years. He's 28. But he may. We'll see. They just toss these guys out. Once the guaranteed money's out, then basically the contract's over. So anyway, that's what I think. Don't take him early. Let somebody else take him early. But you know what you can take early? You can take it anytime. MyBookie.ag. You can do it anytime you want. Anytime you want, cuz. We've got sports back pretty much every day now. And if you want to support the 12-ounce sports team, there's an easy way to get in on the action. You know what it is? 12-ounce sports is going to hook you up with a crazy deal when you sign up and make your first deposit on MyBookie.ag. They'll match your first deposit up to $1,000 when you punch in your promo code 12-ounce sports. That's 12OZ sports, all caps, no spaces, when signing up on MyBookie.ag to get your deposit matched up to $1,000. And remember, always gamble responsibly. Roll them bones. Rolling them bones, cuz. So, moving on. So, speaking of drafting, let's talk about some strategies. I was thinking about this the other day because the draft's coming up and all the news is jumping out about quarterbacks going early, and I talked about the trades last week. If you're interested in what I talked about last week in terms of the trades, you can go to Talkman Radio on YouTube. Check out the 3 videos I put up about all 3 teams and what I think about where they're going. But as for the draft that's coming up, I'll probably watch. I'm definitely going to do a show on it. Probably do a pre-draft show and then a post-draft show. And we'll discuss fantasy impacts of guys because there's going to be some. But when your draft comes around, what do you do? Do you just do that? Don't do that. Don't do that. You can do this if it's one of those free leagues and you don't know what you're doing and you don't get nothing for it and it's just masturbation league. You can do that. That's fine. But if you got if you're doing the finger thing for your draft, you should probably go into it with some kind of strategy. Now, I've heard a lot. Well, not a lot, but I see over the last couple of years, people have been talking about there's a no running back strategy. I don't know what that means. First off, all the leagues I'm in, you have to have a lineup set with certain guys. You can't just not have. If you go into it with no running backs, that's 2 spots open. You're going to lose. Be an idiot. But I guess there's some leagues you just put whoever you want in there. That's not fantasy football. That's just being an idiot. For the most part, most leagues have 2 running backs, or at least 1 running back. Some leagues do 1 running back and like 2 flexes and 2 wide receivers. You can throw a wide receiver or a tight end or whatever you want to do in there, but you have to at least have 1 running back. And most leagues do 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers minimum, a tight end a lot of the times. Flex became big a while back when I first started this shit and we were doing all the stuff on paper. You had to wait till the paper came the next day to do all your numbers, or watch ESPN and hope that they put up the stats for your guys. Yeah, that was the way things were. Now it ain't that way. But now there's so many ways that you can get ready for your league. Shit, you can watch me every Friday. We'll talk about fantasy football. This didn't exist back then. Especially on your computer when you only had shit. I don't want to get all nostalgic. But the thing is, you need to have strategies set up for your leagues. Now, I've gone over, and I'm going to go over again before the season starts. We're going to talk about who I like, why I like them. I'm going to give you my draft cheat sheet. And maybe I'll put it out there if anybody wants to add it to theirs. I'll see what I can do. Anyway, so let's talk about draft strategies. So I have a couple of things. Bring it up. Okay. So I've got 6 points I'm going to go over. I'll go over them pretty quick. Shit, we're already half hour. I talked about Tyler Lockett for that. I talked about that guy that long. What's the matter with me? Let's get into draft strategy. So, I'm going to give you 6 bullet points. Take them as you like. But number 1, and if you think this, and this goes for people who are in leagues that you have a set 1 running back, 2 running backs, 1 quarterback, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, a flex, a couple of flexes maybe, blah, blah, blah. If you're in a league that has a set lineup like that, rule number 1, running backs. Gotta have them. You gotta have running backs. The reason you have to have running backs, and when I say you have to have running backs, I'm saying you gotta have I'm saying minimum first 6 rounds, you got to have at least 3 of them. At least. That's minimum. Maybe 4. And the reason you have to have a bunch of running backs is because at most, you have 32 starting running backs. In terms of wide receivers, some teams have 2. I was just talking about Tyler Lockett. You got 2 guys that are top 10 wide receivers on the same team. Every team has at least one 1A guy that's going to get volume. So that's 32 guys. On top of that, you've got the other wide receiver in the other set that you can take flyers on. That's 64 guys. Some teams, let's say a third of them, 10 teams, have a third guy that you can run in and out. That's 10 more guys. That's 74 guys. There's rookies, half a dozen that come out, play well. You can plug and play or pick up and plug into your lineup. That's another, what are we into, 80, 85 guys? Somewhere around 85 guys at that one position that are going to make an impact on your fantasy team. In terms of running backs, there's like 15 of them, 16 of them. Every league has one starting running back, but some teams can't run the ball. Like Le'Veon Bell. Le'Veon Bell with the Jets. You want that guy on your team? He was starting running back, stunk the joint up. So you got to have running backs. I'm saying 3 out of the first 6 rounds. Running backs in the first 2 rounds, I'm A-okay with that. I'm going to show you what. I'm going to give you, I only did last year. You can go back if you want and double check. This is just a mock draft. And I'll give you 12 picks. I'll give you 12 picks. This is a mock draft, and I'm doing PPR. A mock first-round draft. Every year, and I say this every year, minimum a third of the guys that get drafted in the first round don't come close to their ADP. They get hurt, they fall apart, they get hurt or fall apart, basically. Zeke last year lost a quarterback. Now what do we do? Now his numbers dropped so much last year when Dak Prescott went down. It was ridiculous. He started out well. He was doing well in PPR, getting his yards, getting some touchdowns. He was doing well, and that offense was just humming. And once he went down, it just fell apart. So I'm going to give you a quick mock draft. Here's what happened last year. Number 1. What's the number 1 pick? I can't wait to get the number 1 pick. Give me McCaffrey. Yeah, that didn't work out. That didn't work out too well. So McCaffrey, not a first-round pick. Number 2, even worse. Because at least McCaffrey came back. He got hurt again. Which really pissed off McCaffrey owners. But number 2 is even worse because, all right, this is the year. Last year, we're going to throw last year out, and this is the year. Saquon Barkley, we're going to take Saquon Barkley, and he's going to run all over the place. And he got hurt again. So that's not good. Knocking out, there's your second pick overall, gone. Number 3, Zeke Elliott. Now, injuries to other guys happen. That's another thing you got to worry about. You can't predict that. That's just what happens. And he didn't fall off the map, but he did take a drop. Zeke did not live up to his ADP, especially number 3. Second round pick, maybe, but you have to have that whole offense going, especially with the quarterback, keeping the quarterback healthy. Number 4, Alvin Kamara. Okay, there you go. It took 4 picks to get a guy that met his ADP and just shot right over it, actually. Alvin Kamara. Number 5, I called this last year. I was not going anywhere near this guy. Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He's not Kareem Hunt. He's Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I don't care the offense you're in. And it turned out that the Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce basically, and Mahomes throwing the ball pushed that team forward. So Clyde Edwards-Helaire, another one, didn't make it. Number 6, Michael Thomas, didn't make it. He was out for the first 7. Well, he played the first game, played like shit. I think he had like 4 for 44 in that game. I drafted him. I was one of those guys. 4 for 44. Now I know we're talking about running backs, but I just want to. It goes across the spectrum. It can happen to anybody, even if you take a wide receiver first. But it hurts even more if you take a wide receiver because you didn't even go for a running back. You took a wide receiver and he got hurt. So now your first running back, if you take a running back, is going to be your second round. And you're screwed. Number 7, Dalvin Cook. That works, even though, he did get hurt and missed a game, I think. He still did just fine. Number 8, I'm going to give you Nick Chubb. When he played, he rocked the Casbah, yo. Yo, cuz. Rocking the Casbah over here. Yeah, Nick Chubb, when he played, he did just fine. Despite the fact he's not a PPR guy. He's definitely not a PPR guy. He is a touchdown guy. He is a big play guy. He is a 5-yard, 6-yard per carry guy. He's got, and they have a very good offensive line in Cleveland, but he did miss those 4 games, so that moves him to the meh category. But when he did play, he balled out. So I'm going to give him the meh. Number 9, Devante Adams. If you picked him, those games he didn't play, you were probably like, hope you didn't trade him. Because when he came back, he did just fine. So Devante Adams, we got to give him a thumbs up. Julio Jones. People are still taking Julio Jones in the first round. You're out. Austin Eckler. Nope. You're out. He got hurt, and that was the end of that. And Derrick Henry. We've even given you more guys. Derrick Henry did just fine. So, out of these 12 guys, and I'm just going to look at the running backs here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 running backs. 75% of the first round went to running backs. Of those 9 guys, 1, McCaffrey, Barkley, Elliott, Edwards-Helaire, and I'm talking about at that pick. Edwards-Helaire in the 3rd round would have been fine, but not at number 5 overall. Yeah, he wasn't a running back number 1. McCaffrey, Barkley, Elliott, Helaire. I'll give Chubb because he played so well when he was in there. I'll give him his first round grade just because, boy, all these running backs fell them. They went to shit. And Austin Eckler. That's 5. It's 5 guys. 5 guys out of the 9 they got picked to shit the bed. And that's pretty standard. It's a little high, but for the most part, like 3, 4, 5 guys every year in the first round take a shit in the bed. That's just the way it happens. So when I'm saying go heavy running backs, that's to defend against this kind of shit happening. So in the 2nd round, that's what I'm saying. I'm fine drafting running back in the 1st and 2nd round because at least if you draft running back, they both fall apart. Okay, you're just screwed. But if you get your 2nd running back, he hits and this guy misses. All right, we're still we didn't get swallowed up by the ground. So that's why you got to go heavy running backs because if you pick a running back and then go wide receiver, and this happens, it's pretty much game over. Unless you pick up a James Robinson and an Antonio Gibson on the waiver wire, which that ain't happening. If that happens, you got a horseshoe up your ass if that happens. So that's why I say 3 of the first 6 rounds running backs, and running backs in the first 2 rounds, I'm just fine with that. I did not do that last year, but I did go running back in the first round for most of them. Anyway, so number 2, tight ends. If you're in a league where you play tight ends, and I say this every year, there's very few tight ends out there that make a difference. If you can grab one that gives you an advantage at that position every week or most weeks, you got to take it. Now, last year I went with Travis Kelce. That worked out. We made money off of it. We did okay. Or at least we didn't lose money. We ended up, it's a long story. So I'm all for going early if you're not going to go running back in the 2nd round, and the top tight ends out there, like a Kelce, this year maybe a Waller, I'm all for it because there was only 2 tight ends in the league last year, basically. Only 2 tight ends that went over 1,000 yards. In a league where they're throwing the ball all over the place, Waller and Kelce. Waller had 107 for 1196 and 9 touchdowns. Kelce had 105 for 1,400 yards, for shit's sake, and 11 touchdowns. The next closest guy caught 72 balls, and that was Logan Thomas from Washington. What? Who? Who is that? Yes. They're not getting the ball thrown to them that much. There's just a Grand Canyon-sized gap between top tight ends and everybody else. So if you get one, if you have a chance to get one, take him. That's the only reason I would say not go running back in the second round. Or if a top wide receiver falls, or if you're going for a Mahomes. That's it. Very few reasons other than going running back and then running back in your draft. Logan Thomas is your number 3 wide receiver. TJ Hawkinson, 67 catches. And there's only 5 guys who were targeted over 100 times. Evan Ingram from 109, he caught 63. TJ Hawkinson, 101, he caught 67. And Logan Thomas caught 72 for 670. Those 2 guys are basically wide receiver. You get wide receiver numbers out of Darren Waller and Travis Kelce. Now, we're going to go into which of these guys are going to jump up. If Travis Kelce or Waller are going to fall down. We'll go into that before the season starts. But getting a tight end early that can make a difference on your team can really make a difference on your team. Especially if you hit on your first round running back, you get a top tight end, you're starting off well. So going tight end early. Now, if you plan on doing that and he gets taken, like a Travis Kelce, prior to the draft, you have to do your research, especially on the tight end position, because like I just said, like I just told you, there's only 2 guys out there. Who's going to be the other guy? Now, last year going into it, you had Kittle, you had people were saying Gronk's coming back, blah, blah, blah. I was after Travis Kelce, Darren Waller was my next guy. And that's the way I was going with that. He was my next guy that I was targeting. He wasn't my next guy on my list, but he was a guy that if I wasn't able to get Travis Kelce, I probably would have drafted him in probably the 4th round, maybe 5th. Because I was big on him. And if you can't get him, that's why the next thing I'm going to get into is important on this particular subject. So number 3 is you have to mock draft a lot. The reason you have to do that is because you have to know what the ADP. You have to know where these guys are going. And people pretty much go in line with the ADP on how things go. If you do a bunch of mock drafts, you'll see where guys are going. You'll know when Raheem Mostert's going off the board. You know when Darren Waller's going off the board. People pretty much fall in line with the ADP. It's very, it can be good and bad if you know what you're doing. This is a good way to kind of get most of your draft set up, and that's how that's how you know what your team's going to be prior to the draft. And it really is. You'll know. You'll know if there's a quarterback you're targeting, you'll know when to go and get him. If there's a wide receiver you're targeting, you'll know when to go get him. You'll know when these guys are going, and if you need to go a round earlier to pick them up because you really like them, you see something, you want to do that, that's fine. That's why you have to do it, and especially helpful in the tight end category because, like I said, there's only 2 out there so far this year. We'll get into more, but if you want Darren Waller next year, you're going to have to go 3rd round most likely. And one of these guys is probably going to fall. Somebody's going to take their spot. You have to do your pre-draft research to find out who that guy's going to be. And my suggestion is if you can't get the number 1 tight end guy or a Darren Waller, if there's 2 of them out there, do your research, pick 2 or 3 guys, stagger them throughout the draft, and go after all of them. And see if one of them pans out because your research is where you're going to make your money at. You win leagues in the summer. You don't win them, and you don't win them in, well, you do win them during the season. But the bones of your team are made in the summer when you do your prior to the draft when you do it. You know what I'm saying. Do mock drafts. Do plenty of mock drafts. They really do help. I used to be against mock drafts. But now I'm realizing, now that people are moving towards the ADP and all that crap, I'm kind of for mock drafts now. Number 4, quarterbacks can wait. I'm not really big on quarterbacks. Another thing on mock drafts. You can go to Yahoo, you can go to ESPN. Not now. There's nobody really mock drafting now. You probably get into a Yahoo one, but ESPN, they're not doing any mock drafts, and a lot of the other sub sites, they're not. Yeah, you'll sit there and wait for 3 hours for 3 guys to come in, and one guy drops. You're not doing a mock draft now. If you do, if you do, you're probably doing it on Yahoo. There are a lot of Yahoos. There are a lot of Yahoos on Yahoo doing mock drafts. Shit, I did one last year. Anyway, quarterbacks can wait. If you're getting a quarterback, here's the deal. Get guys who don't get hurt. That's the basic. I'm gonna go basic on you. Get guys who don't get hurt. Looking at last year's quarterback rankings, Mahomes number 1. Yeah, I'm fine with that. He's not like it doesn't get hurt very often. Got hurt the year before, but look, everybody's dick got wet from Lamar Jackson last year because he broke out the year before. I wasn't real big on him because once they get a book on you, you have to adjust to that. He was not the number 2 quarterback last year. He was actually pretty meh. So you wasted like your 3rd round pick on that when you could have picked up a running back or a wide receiver. Russell Wilson, he was my guy last year. He was my 4th round pick. You could have picked, you could have waited around pick Russell Wilson. He doesn't get hurt. He's another guy. Does not get hurt. Plays 16 games every year. That's one of the big reasons I went after him. Plus, he's very consistent. Dak Prescott was number 4. He got hurt. That was the end of that. You had to start going into the rookies, picking up Joe Burrows and things like that. If that worked out for you, okay. Deshaun Watson, number 5, played well with no one around him. He's a good quarterback. See what happens to him this year. Kyler Murray, okay. But now you're looking at 6th, 7th round guys. Matt Ryan, no. He was ADP 78. That wasn't worth it. Drew Brees, again, got hurt a little bit. Played okay, but definitely not QB 8. Josh Allen blew up. That builds the argument for waiting on quarterbacks. Matthew Stafford, I'm never a big Matthew Stafford fan. Even this year, I'm not going to be a big Matthew Stafford fan. I may push him up a little bit just due to the offense they're in, but I'm not a huge fan. Carson Wentz, that didn't work out. He doesn't even play there anymore. Ben Roethlisberger, played well, fell off. Tom Brady, my 2nd guy, plays all 16 games all the time. Did just fine last year, 4,000 yards, 40 touchdowns. Jared Goff, I didn't like Jared Goff last year. Aaron Rodgers at number 15, he was 7th round pick. They were looking at him, 50 touchdowns or something like that, MVP. Baker Mayfield, meh. Cam Newton, you see what I'm saying, right? Unless you're going for a Mahomes and you have a strategy around that, there's no reason to go early on a quarterback. Follow the ADPs. If there's a guy you really like, you can probably move up and get him around early. Or you can wait for, if you feel lucky, you can wait for around that ADP number and see if you can get him there. Number 5, wide receivers. Well, when do we pick wide receivers? You pick wide receivers when the right wide receiver comes around. I'm moving away from picking wide receivers in the 1st round. I don't care where you're picking. I'm off on the Michael Thomas thing. So, yes, guys, there's going to be guys. There's plenty of wide receivers out there that are going to do just fine for you in the 3rd round, in the 4th round. You can pick a Mike Evans, did fine. DK Metcalf was picked in the 4th round. Look what he did for you. There's plenty of guys with upside out there you can target. You have to look for situations. There's guys with upside. There's guys who do it every year. It's so deep that you can go and look at guys, and you're going to have like 6 chances. You're going to probably have about 6 guys, 5 or 6 spots on your team designated for wide receivers. So a couple wide receivers in the first 5 rounds is fine, and then as it goes, you can target new quarterbacks with wide receivers. 2nd-year wide receivers make big jumps. Guys with upside you can get that make that blow up, and then there you go. You got a number 1 wide receiver in the 7th, 8th round. So wide receivers you can target. You have to know what to target for wide receivers. That's the big thing with wide receivers. And number 6, this is kind of a strategic thing. If you're playing a league with divisions, watch who the guys in your division are taking. Especially wide receiver, tight end things, and quarterbacks, and running back, all of them. But specifically wide receivers, tight ends, because if there's a quarterback that you like or if they're picking your quarterback and there's a wide receiver that you're targeting, and let's say you're targeting him in the 6th round, you can move up a spot to get him if you really like him. And then you're going to lessen, if his quarterback blows up, you're going to lessen that a little bit with his wide receiver, with the wide receiver that he's throwing to, especially if he's your 1A guy or your number 1 guy. That's a good. I always like that strategy. It lessens the blow. If he blows up, you're blowing up with him. So that's my 6th and final draft strategy little tidbit of information. So take that with you and fuck off. No, that's just 6 little hints for your draft strategy. Have at it. We're gonna be drafting in like 4 or 5 months. We're drafting, so we're gonna get into that more. But for now, what we're gonna get into is Zingo TV. Check out Zingo TV. It's free. Use the promo code 12ounce. That's 12OZ. It really helps us when you do that. 12 Ounce Sports is channel 761. Plus, they have other actual sports channels, music channels, other things. You have to go and check it out. It's free, like I tell you. Go check it out. Please sign up and use the promo code 12ounce. That's 12OZ when signing up on ZingoTV.com. Channel 761. That's 12 Ounce Sports. Go sign up right now. It's free. Zingo TV. So, I'm going to give you the top 10 running backs for this year coming up. We're going to do 10 to 6. You ready? Number 10. I really like Josh Jacobs going into this year. I liked him last year. I like him this year. I think he's, they're going to try and give him more of a PPR option this year, I think. Even though they brought in Kenyon Drake, they drafted him to be the guy. I think Kenyon Drake's definitely going to be the number 2 guy. But that's where I see that going. Josh Jacobs, number 10. Number 9, now I said, he's the man. I love this guy, but I put him at number 9 because he does have a running back partner that does get a lot of carries. They do use him a lot, especially in PPR. Number 9 is Nick Chubb. Like Nick Chubb, he won me some money last year. Gotta like that. He did get hurt a little bit, but I don't see him as an injury-prone guy. But Nick Chubb's my number 9, and he could probably move up. We'll see what happens. Number 8, Jonathan Taylor. Now, Jonathan Taylor, rookie last year, played well, but Jonathan Taylor has got a lot of room to grow, especially with that offensive line in front of him. They want to run the ball in there. They've got a quarterback back there. Basically, I think he's going to do what Phillip Rivers did last year. I don't see there's any uptick or downtick in the quarterback room with Carson Wentz taking over for Phillip Rivers. But I really like Jonathan Taylor coming up this year, and I think he's another one who can move up. Number 7, re-signed Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones coming back. That offense is going to take a little step back this year. You just can't put up 8 zillion touchdowns, and especially after losing to Brady and all that. I like Aaron Jones this year. Does get hurt a little bit, but I'm willing to go with that. I don't think he's injury prone. But Aaron Jones, him and that offense they got their own little triplet thing going on there. I gotta like it. And number 6, Antonio Gibson. I said it last at the end of last year. I like where they're going here. Now the quarterback situation is a little up in the air, but Rivera wants to run the ball, play defense, and that guy's running the ball, and he catches the ball too. So you gotta like that about how Ron Rivera runs his offense. He's going to run the ball, and I like Antonio Gibson. Played well last year. Ended up RB like 7 or 8 or something like that. So I'm going with Antonio Gibson, number 6. And one other thing I want to talk about is real quick. I ran through. I was talking about Tyler Lockett too much. Want to get an inside look at recreational sports betting? Then check out the Vegas Squares podcast brought to you by 12 Ounce Sports. Catch them every Saturday night at 10 p.m. Eastern on Zingo TV, channel 761. I told you. And again on Wednesday night for the golf betting show. Check out their website as well, lvsquares.com. That's the Vegas Squares, exclusively on 12 Ounce Sports and Zingo TV. Check out James and the Agent as well on Wednesdays from 8 to 9:30. They get an hour and a half. They don't give me an hour. That's why I got to talk real fast like those auction guys. So let's finish this up. I thought we were going to get into you know what? BiscottiGourmet.com. Biscotti Gourmet offers a new take on an old Italian tradition, the soft-baked mini biscotti in many delightful flavors. Lemon's my favorite. Go to BiscottiGourmet.com and use the promo code TALKMAN. It's a different promo code for 20% off your order. Any flavor is a wonderful compliment with your coffee in the morning or as a guilty pleasure treat. Guilty. BiscottiGourmet.com. BITSCOTTI Gourmet.com. Great stuff. Check them out. So let's do top five. So number 5, we don't expect the quarterback to get hurt this year, and if he doesn't, this guy can make a jump up. Zeke at number 5. He's never lower than number 5. Excuse me. He's never lower than number 5. He's just built to be a top 5 running back, no matter what. So I love Zeke. He's got the speed. He doesn't get hurt very often. So we're going with Zeke. I think he missed a game last year. That wasn't great. But we're going with Zeke at number 5. Number 4. Now this is a guy that can drop despite what he did last year. Derrick Henry. Great season last year. 2,000 yards. That's awesome. Tons of touchdowns. Game-winning plays. Remember against Baltimore? How many people had him against Baltimore getting a nice little 10 points there in overtime? Oh, okay. Oh, we're the 1 o'clock games. No, they're not done yet. And there's 10 more points for you on top of whatever else he got you in overtime. So, yeah, that helped out. But Derrick Henry, guys who rush for 2,000 yards, the season after, there's really a drop-off. Now, Derrick Henry's young. I don't see him dropping, going to 400 yards. But I'm a little hesitant on Derrick Henry. I would probably drop him a little more, but we'll see what happens. Number 3, another guy. I'm just not sold on this guy, but I got him at number 3, and if he's there, I got to take him. Dalvin Cook. Whenever I took him 2 years ago and the year before that, he just shit the bed. Didn't work out. But then I said, I'm not taking him, and then the last 2 years he went nuts. So I'm a little hesitant on Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook at number 3, that's just fine. He's killer in PPR. He breaks big plays. He's just got it all. The only thing against him is getting injured. We don't like injuries. Nobody likes injuries. I definitely don't like injuries on my team. The year before last, I had 1,400 injuries in 1 year on one team. Number 2, Alvin Kamara. Now, I know, why is he number 1? He's not number 1 because Drew Brees retired. That's it. That's it. He's not number 1 because Drew Brees retired. That's end of story. Great season last year. If you had him and you made it to the championship game, he won you. He won you the championship. But now that Drew Brees is going, you got to see how the offense is going to work out. If they put Taysom Hill in there, I talked about this a week or 2 ago. If they put Taysom Hill in there, he loses some hype. If they put Winston in there, he gets a little back. I'm just a little weird on Alvin Kamara right now. We got to see how this goes. And number 1, in case you didn't guess, we're going with McCaffrey again. I think last year getting injured may have benefited him a little bit. Didn't benefit him if you had him on your team. But, getting 8 zillion carries a year probably doesn't help you out too much. So we'll go with Christian McCaffrey, come back, and be the number 1 next year. That's the way I'm seeing it. That's the show. An hour on Tyler Lockett, a lot of it. But see you next week, 6 o'clock. Good luck with whatever you're doing. Happy